Flights are $1,200 each. My mother's voice echoed crisply over speakerphone. If you cannot afford it, stay behind. She said it so easily, as if she were reading a grocery list. I sat in the staff lounge at JFK Airport, still in uniform, the polished insignia on my jacket declaring my title, Chief of Aviation Security. 12 hours of back-to-back operations had left my shoulders sore and my throat dry. I had just finished reviewing a high-risk flight manifest and coordinating intelligence with federal agents. A job that carried weight, responsibility, and national trust. But in that moment, none of it mattered to the people on the other end of the line. My sister Lila's laugh followed. Don't pout, Sophia. You work too much anyway. Besides, this is business class. It's not your lane. Lane? She said it the way someone might dismiss a clerk. Dad added, She's right. You've got that airport job. Someone's got to check IDs and wave passengers through, right? I pressed my lips together so tightly I could taste the metallic bite of blood. I could have corrected them. I could have reminded them that I wasn't waving trays down conveyor belts. I was the one who signed off on every security breach report, the one who carried authority to shut down terminals when threats appeared. But why bother? In their eyes, I would never be more than a low-level employee. Meanwhile, they were packing for a week in Santorini. My parents, Lila, and her husband Thomas. Whitewashed villas, wine tours, business-class champagne. A family vacation. Without me. You know, Mom continued, it's been a rough year for everyone. We deserve this. Everyone? The word landed sharp, as if it deliberately excluded me. I thought about April, when Thomas lost his job, and I wired them $2,500 to cover their rent. About Dad's hospital scare, when I paid the deductible so he wouldn't delay treatment. About the groceries I covered for Mom, the ones she promised to pay me back for but never did. And now, this. A trip I wasn't invited to, except as a walking wallet. That's fine, I said, my voice calm, practiced. I'll stay behind. Before they could add another insult, I ended the call. The lounge around me buzzed with chatter from officers and airline staff, but I barely heard it. My badge felt heavy against my chest, as if it carried every slight, every dismissal, every time they made me feel small. I protected entire flights of strangers from disaster, yet couldn't protect myself from the people who called themselves my family. I slipped my phone into my bag, straightened my uniform, and walked back into the terminal. Families wheeled bright suitcases toward their gates, chasing vacations I wasn't allowed to join. My steps were steady, but inside me a thought flared bright and fierce. Maybe it was time to stop playing the dependable daughter. It was close to midnight when my phone buzzed on the nightstand. I had just returned from another long day at JFK, hair damp from a quick shower, ready to collapse into bed. I expected maybe a late update from one of my deputies. Instead, what I saw made my stomach twist. Alert. 4 business-class tickets purchased, $4,800. Cardholder, Sophia Turner. Passenger names, Sandra M., William M., Lila M., Thomas M. Not Sophia. I sat up so fast my pillow fell to the floor. The blue glow of the screen burned into my eyes as I scanned the names again and again. My mother, my father, my sister, my brother-in-law. They had booked their luxury vacation on my card without a word. My pulse roared in my ears. This wasn't the first time. I thought back to when Lila borrowed my credit card for a $600 dress, promising to pay me back before her engagement party. She never did. When Dad persuaded me to co-sign a renovation loan for the resale value of the house, only for the money to vanish into Thomas's failing business. Time after time, they treated me not like family, but like their personal financial safety net. But now, they had gone further. They had stolen the trip itself, right down to the boarding pass I would never hold. At work, when an airline tried to bypass safety checks, I shut it down without hesitation. If a suspicious bag appeared, I acted decisively. Yet in my own life, I had let my family bypass me over and over again. Not tonight. With 2 firm taps, I disputed every charge. Then I locked the account completely, My breathing slowed, my chest loosening as if invisible chains had fallen away. Moments later, my phone buzzed again. A message from Lila. Lila, why is nothing paid for? We're at check-in. Her words dripped with entitlement. No greeting, no explanation, just accusation. I stared at the message, my reflection staring back in the glass of the screen. For the first time in my life, I didn't scramble to fix it. I didn't send a frantic apology or rush to cover their costs. Instead, I typed back the exact words my mother had used to slice into me earlier that day. Me. What you said? I placed the phone face down on the table and brushed my teeth with steady hands. In the mirror, I saw a woman who looked tired, yes, but also different. Stronger. Unshaken. Outside, flights thundered into the night sky, carrying strangers toward distant shores. My family was among them, fuming at a counter in Terminal 4. And me? I was right here. Not their savior, not their wallet, just me. And for the first time in years, that felt like enough. The next morning, sunlight spilled through my blinds, soft and indifferent. My phone lay on the dresser, buzzing every few minutes with missed calls and unread messages from my family. I ignored them. For once, their panic wasn't my problem. Instead, I opened my laptop. At work, every security breach required a thorough report. Dates, times, evidence, recommendations. No emotion, no excuses, just facts. Why should this be any different? I created a spreadsheet, fingers steady on the keys. Outstanding family debts. Sophia Turner, Chief of Aviation Security. The list came quickly, almost too easily. $600. Lila's designer dress, charged to my card, never repaid. $2,500. Loan to Lila and Thomas during his unemployment. $800. Dad's MRI deductible, paid out of pocket. $420. Groceries, Mom promised to reimburse, but forgot. $4,800. 4 unauthorized business class tickets, disputed. $150. Late fees caused by those charges. Total, $8,020. I sat back, staring at the number. Years of sacrifice, siphoned drip by drip, had finally tallied into something undeniable. Then I drafted a message, written with the precision of an official incident report. Per your belief that families should support one another, please find attached a breakdown of the financial assistance I have extended over the past 24 months. Effective immediately, I will no longer subsidize family expenses. Full repayment of $8,020 is expected within 30 business days. After this date, I will proceed with formal reports to my credit provider regarding unauthorized use of my credentials. All further financial interactions are hereby terminated. I attached the invoice and sent it to the family group chat. The silence lasted 2 minutes. Then the explosions began. Mom, Sophia, this is cruel. Families don't treat each other like transactions. Dad, we raised you better than this. Stop embarrassing us. Lila, an invoice? Are you insane? You think you're so important because you wear a uniform? You're just a ticket checker. Grow up. The words stung, the way they always had. Ticket checker, clerk. Nothing more. That was how they reduced me, even as strangers entrusted me with national security. But this time, instead of swallowing it, I typed 3 short lines. You didn't raise me, you drained me, and I am finished. I hit send. Then I closed my laptop, leaned back in my chair, and let the silence settle. My hands trembled, but not from fear. It was something sharper, cleaner. Resolve. For the first time in years, I wasn't reacting to their chaos. I was defining my own terms. 2 days later, I was walking my inspection route through Terminal 4 at JFK. Travelers dragged roller bags past me, the air filled with the smell of coffee and jet fuel. My badge gleamed under the fluorescent lights, Chief of Aviation Security. I was there to review procedures before the afternoon surge. And then I saw them, my family. Sandra in an oversized sun hat, William clutching his leather passport holder, Lila clicking her designer heels, Thomas already red-faced from complaining. They were standing at the business class counter, voices raised. When Lila's eyes caught mine, she smirked. Well, look who it is. Maybe you can actually be useful for once. Mom added, Yes, Sophia, talk to them. Our tickets got downgraded because you messed everything up. Isn't this your job? You work here, don't you? Dad shoved the receipt toward me, his voice low but cutting. For once in your life, fix this. You embarrassed us with that ridiculous invoice. Do something right. Their words echoed, sharp and cruel. To them, my uniform was nothing but a costume, my title nothing but a cover for menial work. Before I could answer, a young airline employee behind the counter glanced up. His eyes locked on the insignia pinned over my heart. His entire demeanor shifted, straightening his back, his voice suddenly formal. Excuse me, he said, addressing me directly. Are you Chief Turner? Chief of Aviation Security? I nodded once, measured. Yes. The employee's voice carried across the counter, respectful and steady. It is an honor, ma'am. I've read your incident report on the Flight 827 crisis. Your actions saved hundreds of passengers. We still use your procedures in training. Around us, heads turned. Travelers fell quiet, watching. The young man continued. Please, allow me to escort you through our VIP priority lane. As chief, you have full clearance. Security is already informed of your status. He handed me a sleek access card with both hands, his eyes shining with recognition. I offered him a small professional smile. Thank you. You're doing excellent work. Keep it up. He nearly beamed. Yes, ma'am. And just like that, he guided me toward the private lane. Behind me, silence. My family, rooted to the floor, their insults turning to ash in their mouths. For years they had called me a clerk, a bag checker, a nothing. But here, in the open, strangers acknowledged the truth they had buried. I was not a servant. I was a leader. I didn't look back as I walked past the rope line. My badge caught the light. My steps steady, deliberate. For once, I felt no urge to explain or defend myself. The world had spoken for me. The knock on my apartment door came less than 24 hours after the airport scene. Not a polite knock, but heavy pounding that rattled the frame. Open this door, Sophia! My father's voice thundered. I hesitated, then unlatched the lock. My parents swept in without waiting for permission. Mom's cheeks flushed, Dad gripping a leather folder like a weapon. You made us look like fools, Mom hissed, walking off like some big shot while that boy bowed to you. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? I folded my arms, leaning against the wall. I didn't say a word. You humiliated yourselves. Dad dropped into a chair and yanked open the folder. Pages spilled out, forms, contracts, signatures. He jabbed one toward me. This is what you caused. Banks breathing down my neck. If you hadn't frozen that account. My eyes caught the header. Loan agreement. Borrower, Sophia Turner. My name. My social security number. A scrawled, awkward version of my signature. The room tilted. This? My voice cracked, then hardened. You forged my name on a loan? Dad's jaw tightened. It's temporary. We needed breathing room, and you weren't answering. It's family money anyway. Stop overreacting. Mom's voice rose to a shrill pitch. We trusted you enough to put it under your name. You should be grateful. That's what family does. Trusts each other. Trust? I laughed, sharp and bitter. Trust is asking. Trust is respecting. This is theft. Fraud. You used my identity, me, a federal security chief, for your mess. I gathered the papers with shaking hands and shoved them back into the folder. Get out! Right now! They sputtered protests, guilt-laced barbs, but I pointed firmly to the door. Out! Finally, Dad stood, muttering curses under his breath, and Mom shot me a look filled with venom. Then the door slammed behind them, leaving silence so heavy I thought it would crush me. I dropped into a chair, the folder clutched against my chest like a shield. My phone buzzed on the table. A message request. Name, Rachel Davis. I frowned. Rachel, Thomas's ex-wife. We hadn't spoken in years. I opened it. Hi, Sophia. I know this is sudden, but you need to see something. Attached was a PDF file. I tapped it open and felt my breath leave my lungs. Screenshots of bank transfers, crypto accounts drained, wire receipts, and worse, emails. My parents begging Rachel not to say a word. Sophia can handle it. She always does. They knew. They all knew. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the evidence, betrayal inked line by line across the screen. For years, I thought I was just unlucky, overburdened, the dependable one. No, I was their cover, their scapegoat, their walking credit line. And now, thanks to Rachel, I had proof. I didn't sleep that night. Rachel's file sat open on my laptop, glowing in the dark. My name appeared in transfer notes, forged signatures, even email threads that proved my family had conspired to keep me in the dark. Every line screamed the same truth. They had built their survival on draining me dry. By dawn, I had made my decision. I dressed in uniform, fastening the insignia of Chief of Aviation Security over my chest. It wasn't just cloth and metal, it was a reminder of who I was beyond their lies. I walked into the bank where the loan had originated. The manager's polite smile faltered as soon as I laid down the documents. "That isn't your signature," he said after one glance. "No," I replied firmly. "And I'm a federal security chief. This isn't just a family dispute. This is fraud. I want the account flagged, and I'll be filing a formal report." His face paled. "Of course, ma'am. We'll escalate immediately." By noon, I was on the phone with a contact from a joint security drill, a financial crimes investigator. I explained everything, careful to note my personal conflict. Silence stretched on the other end. Then he said, "Sophia, this is serious. Forgery tied to a federal officer isn't a family squabble. It's a felony. Do you want to proceed?" I looked out my apartment window at the skyline, the city I had sworn to protect. "Yes," I said. "I'm done protecting people who use me as their shield." That evening, the retaliation began. "Mom, Sophia, you've humiliated us. Withdraw those claims before you ruin your father." "Dad, you're overreacting. We didn't have a choice. You've always helped before. Why change now?" "Lila, you think you're so important in that uniform? You're nothing, just a ticket checker in fancy clothes." My chest tightened at the words, old wounds reopening. But then I breathed, steady and slow. I blocked Lila and Thomas entirely. I left Mom and Dad unblocked, not from mercy, but for evidence. Every accusation, every guilt trip, every denial was another piece for my file. Later, I poured a glass of water and sat at my desk. Instead of answering, I built a timeline. Dates, amounts, forged documents, Rachel's screenshots. My fingers moved with the same precision I used to draft crisis reports at work. By the time I was done, the folder glowed like a weapon on my desktop. Family evidence. When I finally stepped outside for a late-night run, the air was cool, crisp, almost cleansing. My shoes struck the pavement in a steady rhythm. Each stride carried me further from the girl who excused everything, closer to the woman who was finished being their safety net. The investigation gained momentum like a storm front rolling in. Within 2 weeks, Thomas's financial accounts were frozen. His crypto wallet, his betting platforms, even the joint accounts tied to his business, locked. He called me 10 times in one afternoon. Each went unanswered. By the 3rd week, it was my father's turn. His company's HR department launched an internal review after a quiet tip reached them. The forged loan papers, the ones carrying my fake signature, were traced back to his computer. I didn't need to imagine his face when they confronted him. Rachel texted me the update with 2 words: suspended pending review. That evening, Mom's number lit up my phone. Against my instincts, I answered. "You've destroyed us, Sophia," she said, her voice ragged with accusation. "Your father hasn't slept. Lila is in pieces. Thomas's reputation is gone. Is this what you wanted? To humiliate your own blood?" For a moment, the familiar guilt tried to push in, but then I remembered Rachel's file, the forged documents in my desk, the debt piled on my shoulders for years. I steadied my voice. I didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourselves the moment you decided my boundaries didn't matter. The day you forged my name, you chose this. You can't talk to me like that, she snapped. You can't steal my future and expect silence, I replied. Then I hung up. 2 days later, the final blow landed. The investigator I had contacted sent me an encrypted email. Inside were screenshots of withdrawal requests, funds siphoned directly from my federal retirement account. Nearly $15,000 gone. The authorization form bore my name, sloppily forged. The IP address? Registered to my parents' house. My hands trembled as I scrolled. It wasn't just my present they had plundered. They had reached into the years I had sacrificed, double shifts, missed birthdays, holidays spent patrolling terminals, to secure a retirement I wasn't even sure I'd live to see. I forwarded everything to Rachel. Within minutes, she called. Sophia, this is airtight. They've crossed into federal crime territory, forging the credentials of a chief of aviation security. That's not only fraud, it's a prison sentence. Her words rang in my ears, steady and merciless. For 31 years, I had carried them, excused them, protected them, and they had thanked me by stealing the very foundation of my life. I closed my eyes, inhaled deeply, and whispered, Send it all forward, no more shielding them. When the call ended, I sat in silence, not triumphant, not gloating, just still, like a terminal finally cleared after hours of chaos. This wasn't vengeance. It was truth, finally, stepping into the light. 6 months later, the wreckage of my family's choices still lingered, though it no longer weighed on me. Thomas was indicted on charges of wire fraud and misappropriation. My father had been quietly dismissed from his job after HR confirmed the forged loan documents traced to his computer. My mother withdrew from social circles, unable to face the whispers. And me. I wasn't ruined. I was reborn. At JFK, colleagues began to greet me, not just as Sophia, but as Chief Turner, the leader who had weathered storms, both professional and personal, without faltering. My testimony during the investigation had demonstrated the same precision I used in security crises. Soon after, I was invited to deliver training modules for young officers on integrity and accountability. For once, I wasn't invisible. I was respected. Outside of work, my life found a steadier rhythm. Daniel Miller, an investigator I had once collaborated with, became a constant presence. He wasn't loud or demanding. He listened. He showed up. And when I told him everything, the loans, the forgeries, the years of being drained, he didn't pity me. He simply said, You're stronger because you stopped letting it define you. The reimbursement funds that trickled back from frozen accounts felt hollow in my hands. So I redirected them, establishing a scholarship for young women in aviation security who were supporting their families while studying. I wanted them to know they weren't alone, and they didn't have to bleed themselves dry to prove their worth. One chilly morning in November, I stopped at a cafe near the terminal. As I waited for my espresso, I heard a voice behind me. Sophia! I turned. My mother stood there, smaller than I remembered. Her hair had thinned, her face drawn. She gave me a trembling smile. Can we talk? We sat. She rambled, circling around half apologies. We were just trying to hold things together. We didn't realize how much you were carrying. If we could go back. But there was no true ownership. No word about the forgeries. No acknowledgement of stolen retirement funds. Just excuses. Finally, she asked, Do you hate us now? I looked at her steadily. No. But I don't owe you anything anymore. Her eyes widened. But we're family. That's not an argument, I said softly. That's an excuse. She slid an envelope across the table, then left without another word. Inside was a check for $15,000. No note, no apology. Just silence written in numbers. I pinned it above my desk beside a quote I had copied into my journal. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. That evening, as planes soared into the night sky above JFK, I breathed deeply and felt lighter. I wasn't their wallet. I wasn't their scapegoat. I was my own person, chief of aviation security, and a woman finally free.